Far back. But there's a DeLorean, and we did a photo op with that. So
That is
That's
awesome.
so awesome. My daughter would flip.
yeah,
Loves Back to the Future. She's obsessed.
Dang it! And I did
Yeah,
a good
that-
one
that
for
was-
Susie
There are a
today
couple things
too.
with Jose Diablo,
Damn it.
who doesn't live
Gus,
too
front
far
and center
from me.
today.
And I said, hey, I make stuff. You want to do something together?
Yes,
And
yes, it's.
he invited me on that show
he ate
right
some
away.
bad
Kind of went down
and
the
got
rabbit
bigger.
hole from there.
Yeah.
So your monsters, you make one new animatronic / prop a year? Is that your, or do you try and is there just as many as you can get done?
So they don't go up and
Yep.
grab the jaws and do crazy stuff. But yeah, I think, walking up to the front door and going through the arch and stuff is kind of a cool, a little bit of a walkthrough thing. And then just, going in front of the Death Star panels and stuff like that. But
you have a lot of people taking pictures in front of the stuff, and
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a selfie in front of it. And when I did the Pirate Hunt, I used to only put it out just on Halloween. So, but last year I decided that I would try running this. I ran it the weekend before Halloween and the weekend.
I see. Yeah. Like this down here with the logs and stuff like that. They would they walk in front of
and falling. And so we made the path that goes from the columns down the middle.
I don't want to see any bit of the house.
Right.
I'm going to be doing something like that next year where I'm going to cover the whole front of my house. So
And she wants to help me with those. We'll see if she does. But for the most part, it's just me and my husband. He does he framed 2 sheds that are full, and then we have a 15 by 35 foot storage unit that is full. And we
100% mechanized on. So everything is on motion sensors, everything like that. I would love to have scare actors in there. I don't think I've been doing it long enough to have, I tell people, like I ask my friends, I'm like, hey, you want to come over and scare people in a haunted house? And they're all look at me like a crazy person.
until they do it, you've got to tell them until you do it. That's so.
can't get over this.
This is
Well, thank
so
you.
freaking cool.
Before you even start, I just want to add to this. I just want to tell you this. I must have watched this video, I don't know, like 10 times in a row at least. I spent like an hour and a half going through this.
Wow.
Video.
Yes.
Thank you. Your numbers probably spiked. Like
I was just gonna say he was probably wondering who was
what the hell's going on here?
fangirling.
Yeah,
Who's fangirling on my YouTube?
was
I
totally
went
me.
Dan Noble. That's
And then it grew, or was this a grand thing that you guys have been like planning to do? Like, I want to make a haunted house that holds 30 actors and 3 makeup artists, rivals any professional haunted house out there. Is it
Never the
something?
intention. It was never the intention.
Never the intention.
No, it's taken over our lives. But no, it just started with again, yard decorating. And then when we moved to a new community, we put up a kind of a little diorama as well. And then when we
The problem is when you walk into somebody's house or their property, you have no idea that they're able to do this. When you go into a pro hunt, you expect they spend money, they have budgets, they have profits from last year. So you kind of expect to have effects and over the top things. When you go into a home hunt, you have no idea what. So I'm just gonna quit. So I'm out. See you guys later.
I actually, after thinking about this and coming up with it myself, I looked it up, and of course, Scare Factory has already done something similar.
Well, I will tell you this: it's
Then I jumped onto YouTube, and I had a notification bubble at the top right-hand corner, and it was like, you have 400 and some odd subscribers, and 15,000 views. And I said, I guess I should probably start doing YouTube. And my wife has always been encouraging me since the day I met her, literally.
in the backyard as a shelf. So I said, what can I do with an outhouse? The wagon, I didn't even plan on that. I was just going to do like...
Sir, it's your big.
Now, do you use the drone for these videos?
No. That's all. And by the way, I use Christmas bulbs for eyes on a lot of my props. Those are over.
Well, it's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. The Haunt Hour. With your host, Troy Crivello. Susie Fleesick. And Dan Dobo. Tonight's guest is Katie Lane, guest actor and educator. So sit back, strap in, and welcome to the Haunt Hour.
I don't even know what to say. It doesn't even make any sense.
I know that's why.
Oh God!
You know, you're a Renaissance man.
Yeah, I guess that's me. Renaissance Dan. Yeah.
You mentioned Benny Hill last week, so
Yes. As soon as I saw that, I knew exactly why it was on there. Just because I like Benny Hill means that we have to make Dan Benny Hill.
Yeah.
So what's new? Well, before we do that, I suppose we should talk about who we are and what we're doing here. Hey, it's Dan and Troy with the Haunt Hour tonight. Susie is out of commission for the evening, and so maybe she'll show up later.
Maybe
she'll tell Micah to get on, and we could have Micah as a guest.
Oh, there we go.
A guest host. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Either way,
yeah.
Micah, if you're watching, just message and we'll put you on. You don't even have to. We can put a little logo on, and you don't even have to be on. Just your banter would be fantastic. But either way, either way. What's new with you, my friend? Another week, another Haunt Hour.
Yeah, nothing happened at all.
Nothing. I mean, you only bought a house.
Oh, I did. I bought a house.
How did that go?
Fun. But also stressful. Being that I'm 2,000 miles away or whatever it is. It was a very interesting process going through having our agent, walk through houses for us with her camera and showing us all the nooks and crannies and everything. Obviously, even 7-8 years ago, you probably couldn't do that, with good enough quality and everything. And, we actually were able to decide on houses. Like, you go on Zillow and you see these great houses, and of course, realtor's job and the photo person is to take the best pictures they
Just
can.
like the haunt industry.
Right. And like one house we had her look at, she went inside. The house was great. Everything inside was great. It had everything we wanted. It had a pool in the backyard. It was great. She goes around to both sides of the houses and just cracks and foundation cracks and just everything. And the Zillow pictures didn't show that.
Yeah, weird.
And so we're like, yeah, nope, next.
It almost makes it easier because my wife was a realtor for many years, and she said as soon as you can get them in the door, most of the time they'll buy it no matter what. Their emotions take over versus actual thought process. Yeah. And I'm wondering if it's easier for you to walk away from a house if you've never even stepped foot in it.
Right. Well, and we were able to watch the video later. Like she would send us videos on WhatsApp because it was easier to do it that way. So she would send us like 5 videos, and then I would put them on a big video, and then I would put it on YouTube on our unlisted part, and I would play it in the living room for the whole family, and we'd watch the whole video together. And me and Ashley had already watched the little videos earlier, but so we had already kind of talked about our yays and nays on it and stuff like that. And then we would ask the kids. There were a few houses we never even showed the kids because we're like, no. But yeah, we were able to sit there and think about it with no pressure, and like you said, there was zero heart in it. There were some that we were already thinking, oh my God, we want this house. We can start. I mean, we were thinking where we can put stuff, things like that. So it still happens even on video, but it's way less because you're not there.
And it's like buying a car. So if you go look at it once, you get it home and you're like, son of a bitch.
I know,
right? Scratches and dents and shit that you missed before it. You can go back and watch the video 100 times.
Yep. which we did. We
And you
did
catch
several
them
of
so
them.
you didn't see
And
the
that
first
was that was probably the deciding factor with this house versus. So we had two options. We had a brand new build that wasn't even going to be done until the end of June.
Mhm.
And then we had a 5-year-old house literally down the street. You can actually see the new build house from the
Mhm.
yard of the house that we bought.
Oh no shit.
And so the big difference was that we were thinking, okay, as a first-time home buyer, you have a brand new house, warranties, all that kind of stuff. It's brand new. Nobody's touched it. And that's a really good peace of mind.
Yep.
You've got 10, 15 years on that roof. Well, actually, it's 30-year roof, but in Texas, it's about 10 years because they get a bunch of hail and out it goes. But there was the peace of mind with it. It had the rooms we needed. And then you go and you look at this other house and we're like, oh, it has a lot more space inside and outside. So then the wheels started turning of, okay, what are the pros and cons of the peace of mind versus the space to spread out and the kitchen? And that's really what won out. And just the options on that house versus the new build, we would have been pretty cramped, so people would have been in their rooms. They would have been, separated from everybody, but now we have spaces where people can still be out, stuff like that. So it was a much better choice in the long run, and it was cheaper.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, more square footage for less price.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I was showing my wife your house, and we were laughing because I sent you that one that's literally a block away. It was built in 1902.
Yeah.
For the same price as yours. It's like 3 years old. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy how the market changes in location to location. But anyway, enough about house stuff. Let's talk about haunted house stuff.
Haunted house stuff. Oh, you mean like maybe some
haunting news?
Yeah.
You have any haunting news?
It's kind of a light day, but I've got a couple of things. I didn't even start sharing my screen yet. Look at that. I usually have that set up. One of the things that I came across, and I know a lot of people
Ravens Grand
in the Illinois area know about this.
Yep.
The owners of Ravens Grin have not been good on the health front, especially Jim. And so they are still showing the haunt. It is not in its full operation. The majority of the stuff is going, but they are on a reservation system so that Jim is not doing too much in one day. And so it's basically you get to go through it. You get to look at stuff. They do the hide and seek in there. And of course, all the stories that Jim tells. I mistakenly left on a Sunday night from MHC a couple years ago when a bunch of our friends did go, and I regret that to this day. So never leave a convention on Sunday, ever. There's just something crazy that happens on Sunday night, whether it's there at the show or you go out somewhere with somebody, a relationship, a friendship, a business, whatever can come out of that Sunday night. So don't. So I was not able to see it. But it's probably, from what we're gathering, it's only going to be around for a couple more years to where the point where Jim can actually do it. So if you are in the Illinois area, it's like 2.5 hours, like south and west of Chicago, kind of. But most of us know Ravens Grin just from the stories and stuff like that. So just kind of an update on that. The health is not that great, but he has good days and bad days where he can do plenty of things, and of course Jessica helps him with a ton. So it's definitely a crazy.
It's a unique
crazy place.
Launch. It's a unique. There's nothing else out there like it.
Have you been to it, Dan?
I have, years ago.
Okay.
Probably. Gosh, it's probably been 12 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. So there's like slides in there, and
I met Jim on the Haunt World forums.
Oh yeah,
he's one of the active members on there.
Yeah.
So that's how long ago I met him. So
you've been around the block a bit.
I've been around the block.
So
speaking of blocks,
huh?
Speaking of blocks, so you got some blocks there.
I do have some blocks. So now is I've been noticing in a lot of the other hunt groups, a lot of the for sale groups and stuff like that, and some of like the just the general decorating groups, that a lot of people have been scoring stuff off of Marketplace. And it's spring cleaning time. It's getting everything out of the summer. You're looking through your garage and stuff, and a lot of people seem to be selling Halloween stuff. I mean, these are all just in my area, and there's just tons of it. So you should.
I still got wall panels for sale. Anybody's watching? I got wall panels for sale.
In
Wisconsin. Out in Wisconsin, Lake Country. Come and get them.
Yeah.
Or make a boat out of them.
But you should definitely be, if you're looking for certain things, or maybe something you didn't know you were looking for, check out your Facebook Marketplace, for all kinds of stuff.
Did you search Halloween or haunt?
I did.
Did you search Halloween?
Yep, I just searched Halloween. I got a lot of it. And also what I've noticed is after you search that a couple of times and maybe you click around a little bit, Facebook will like to show you those, as Facebook likes to, entwine itself into your life. So then you might actually see some of those listings in your scrolling of the Facebook. So I see it a lot now where I'll see something pop up, and not even just from my area. There was a person giving away the whole spirit set from last year up in New York. Oh, so I went along and I took the ad and I shared it to a couple of the New York groups.
Yeah.
So if you're browsing Facebook Marketplace and that that's in an area where a lot of haunters are, share it to them so they go get it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. To just share the love.
Make sure you're amazing. Just want to
I try
and let everybody know how amazing you are.
I try.
Speaking of amazing, hey, how's the Home Haunter Awards thing going?
Oh, that's well, good. We're waiting for one more presenter to send us a video. But I will tell you, the presenter videos we've gotten this year, I sit here and I can't speak because I am just blown away. And me, I can always find something to speak about. I like there were several of them. I called my family and I go, you guys got to come in here and see this. This is amazing. These people went above and beyond making these videos for us. And it's all based around a certain theme, and they all did fantastic. Normally what we do for presenters is we tell them, this is what you're presenting. This is the few lines you have to say, and the rest is up to you. And this year we actually gave them a little bit of direction about what to say or how to act based on what we're doing for the show. And so they all nailed it. And of course they'll send me messages like, okay, so this is what I did. Do you think it's okay? Let me know if I need to fix it. And I'm watching it and I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Nailed it first try. And pretty much almost everybody in there, you'll know and love the award, the people who won awards. There's a lot of new people again. Yep. And that is I'm loving that after 5 years, we still have new people winning the awards.
Yep.
Because we have the rule that if you win one category the year, but you can't enter that same category the next year. So we've had a few where they'll win best static prop and then best display the next year, but they're out of best static prop.
Yeah.
And then we also tap some of them to be judges or presenters. We let them present with as well as enter. We have a few presenters this year that entered as well. But we didn't have them present their category, obviously. They would have known if they wanted.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Last year was pretty impressive. Given COVID and all that bullshit.
This one's going to be, it's going to be great. And the videos that we got sent in, huh? Oh yes. Especially what me and Christopher did. But therein lies the problem, is that Christopher is over there in North Carolina. I'm over here in Oregon, and I'm packing up my house. I do have our studio set up that I can film stuff in if we need to. But we're kind of on some weird timing right now of trying to get stuff done and trying to get stuff filmed. And
I hear you.
So I won't say when, sometime before September. I'll put it that way.
All right. We'll give it August 31st. It is then.
right. But like I said, it actually might not be the worst idea because of the fact that it will get people watching the videos and realizing that's why they won. And that's how they filmed it. So then when they're doing stuff there, it's fresh in their mind instead of it being back in May or June when then they'll forget it all summer. They would have just watched those videos. So
it's true.
Be a little little jump in the pants there. That's what I'm saying.
Jump in the pants.
Jump in
the panties.
Jump in the pants. Speaking of jumping, and that's a stupid segue. Let's just go with it. Ow! This one came across my feed this weekend. Van Oaks Props. Almost everybody knows who this guy is. He has the best voice besides Dick Terhune in the lawn industry. I could listen to his how-tos and not even care that I'm making anything. He's got that awesome voice. I just love it. But he made cobblestone walls from the pink foam. The only caveat is I don't like doing it with the hot wire on the pink foam. That's it. I like using a preference. You know, but it is. You can use a knife. You can use you can use a jigsaw. You can use a like a butter knife. You can use a hot wire. So he basically, he cuts it out of that. He's got the little pieces. He uses that is my favorite tool in the world. Is that yellow rasp from Stanley. Oh my God. I have like 4 of them
so
just because I love them.
Pink foam, clothing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Speaking of that.
That was a perfect segue.
I know it was. You take all your hot glue or your Gorilla Glue, wet the surface first, and just take them on there, and then you do lots of little brushes and washes, and you end up with a really cool looking green, all little green in there and everything, and then you have this cobblestone wall. You can add to anything you want. So, I think Van Oaks Prop is probably subscribed by everybody, and you should be. So they do. He does pretty much one. I know he does one premiere a weekend. I think now I think it pops up on my thing Saturday mornings. So you can wait for those. If you're subscribed, you got the little bell thing on there. It'll pop up. But yes, speaking of rasps and costuming, who do we have on the show tonight, Dan?
Oh, who do we have?
I don't know. Who do we have? I forgot already. Who do we got?
I can't remember. Was it? I can't remember.
It's Susie, right? It's Susie.
Susie coming on tonight.
Susie's coming on. No, it's Katie. Katie Lane. Katie Lane.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Well, that was a good show. All right, everybody, have a good night.
All right. Oh,
super exciting.
End of the night. We're great.
Yep.
So, Katie,
yes,
you are a traveling actress, and a special effects makeup artist, and a roller coaster enthusiast.
Yes, to all of those things.
All those things. So why don't you tell us as much as you can about you when you were like a kid, how you got into Halloween? Was it stupid when you were a kid? Did you hate it and then love it now? Just kind of give us the details of how you got into this crazy world.
I was the Halloween freak kid, probably because my birthday's Christmas Eve. So I have a massive resentment towards the Christmas holiday because it ruins my birthday every year. So I gravitated towards Halloween, and I always loved the aspect of everything spooky and the idea of doing a costume and getting to transform into a unique character every year. And I was the kid that, like, while I was trick-or-treating, was planning what I wanted to be the following Halloween. And I did my first haunted house when I was 9 years old. It was 94. And it was a local Boy Scout fundraiser. They just did it for the weekend. And the reason I got asked to help was the Scout master was across the street neighbor of ours. And I did gymnastics, and he knew I could do like weird contortions and liked Halloween. So he was like, "Can we borrow you? You're just going to wear like a black leotard and just move like a weird spider." And that's how I got my start in haunted houses.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That is awesome.
You can move like nobody in this business. I will tell you that. Nice.
My chiropractor also agrees with that.
Got him on speed dial.
Pretty much.
So what got you into so you went through the, did you just never stop being in haunted houses after that? You just pretty much went straight through and just kept going?
So intermittently from that, so that haunt only ran for a short little bit because 90s and fire code and things all kind of started happening, and you couldn't get away with doing haunts that were mostly, you know, refrigerator boxes and black plastic and all of the things that were part of charity haunts in the 90s that you can't get away with anymore. And then I got into doing theater. And so that was a big passion of mine for quite a few years. And then in high school, I got back into doing haunts.
So when you got back into haunts, were you into makeup and costume design and all that stuff, or like what drove you to the haunt? Acting, or was it something else? Or
So it was kind of like a mix of all of those things. Like, as I said, like I always loved planning like my trick or treat Halloween costume. And admittedly, I totally would I trick or treated through high school. Pretty much once I started doing haunts, that was the real reason I stopped trick or treating. Like I could still get away with it, go trick or treating, just because I loved it so much as a kid. I'm about the same size as a kid, anyhow. It should be fair.
True.
But yeah, like with the theater background and with like costuming, like my grandma and aunt used to like hand sew or come up with like brainstorm with me like my crazy costume ideas of like, how are we going to sew this or put this together or buy these pieces and make this into, you know, whatever I had in mind. And so I think that's kind of where like my love of costuming got started, as well as like my knowledge of sewing. And theater is really where I got into the makeup end of things. Because granted, theater, it's a lot different makeup approach than it is for a haunt. You know, it's very overly exaggerated, but a lot of those same principles apply. And then when I started getting back into haunts in high school and learning kind of more the effects end of things, I actually took those back to like my last couple of years of like high school theater, of like, oh, we need to do scars on people's faces, or we need to do like, you know, a death scene. And so like I would use the haunt makeup skills in the theatrical setting.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool.
Realize
both sides of the theater.
Yeah. So when you go to a haunt and they like, what's the process for, you know, like if they don't have a character for you and they just, you know, they've hired you to be a actor for them for the season or for a weekend or whatever, and they don't have a character for you, you know, what is that like? Do you have some characters that you have pre-planned that you kind of show them, or do you kind of just talk to them? How does that process work about being an actor for a haunt that you don't work at?
So I've done over 100 characters in my decades of acting. And so my normal approach is, if it's a haunt I'm not super familiar with, I'll ask them kind of like, what sort of themes do you have? Like, is your haunt set in a certain time period, a certain era, like a certain like theme? Like, is it very like haunted mansion-y? Is it more like a lab? Is it very sci-fi? All of those things. And some people will specifically request a character, like Brett Hayes, for instance, at Fear Fair would often like be like, hey, can you bring like this specific character for me or whatever. Other haunt owners will just be like, do whatever as long as it makes sense with the theme. Like, for instance, John LaFlamboy, when I guest act at Hell's Gate, as long as it's like a period character and kind of fits that theme of everything's very black and white and stark in contrast.
Right.
That's what he's looking for, not per se like flipping through like my photos and being like, do that one. It's more like, does it fit this theme? Then awesome, bring it, you know. And I've done it where like certain haunts, I've made a character up from scratch just because I'm like, this is something different. I want to try something new here.
Right. Do you bring? Go ahead, yeah.
I was just going to say, when you make up a character from scratch, are you doing it at the time of getting to the haunt, or are you going to the haunt and gathering intel and then creating a character before you get there? Because obviously you're a traveling actor, so you don't really necessarily have been to that haunt before. Walk us through that? Like, what are your thoughts on how you do that? Because that's really intriguing to me.
So I love improv. Again, theater kid background.
Right.
And so a lot of times, like, I will go through like a haunt social media or from talking to the owner, looking through their website, seeing if they have a backstory and stuff. And I'll just start brainstorming a couple ideas. And then because I am the queen of overpacking, I will always have like 5 options ready to go for costuming. So kind of when I get there, I usually ask for like a tour to actually see everything. And then that kind of like clicks in my brain as to, okay, based on what I'm seeing, this is kind of what I want to do and make it work from there. And then like usually like the first little bit of playing with their customers, because depending where haunt is located, customers can vary so much from region to region,
Right.
and figuring out like where are their lines and what is too much for them versus like, are they easy to scare here, or are they more jaded? Are they more into dialogue, or are they more just pop scare type people? And then just kind of building it from there.
Interesting.
So if they don't like if you were to present them with like 5 options and then they said no to them, would you be able to create something out of their costumes or make something there on the fly? Have you ever been asked to like do something you didn't have ready?
I mean, I've had it where I've gone to a haunt and like I'd been like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of bringing. And they're like, okay, cool. And then I get to the haunt and they were like, oh, I really would have loved had you brought blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know how we were texting back and forth for 2 weeks and I ran options by you? I'm not driving an hour and a half back home to grab a piece of costuming to drive an hour and a half back here to make it happen tonight. Like we can do that another night. It's not happening tonight. Like, but I tend to be very big on like, I wear my own costuming just because I know how clean I am and how clean I keep my stuff.
True.
Not every haunt washes their costuming every night, or some I've heard not even every season. So
that's disgusting. Yeah, that's disgusting.
So like what was the first haunt that asked you to come and like tell us how that first haunt asked you to come and act for them? Like, you know, because I know you worked at haunts, you know, full time, but then like when was the first time that you were like, somebody wants me to come to my haunt and, you know, and act?
So I think my first guest acting was at the Haunted Hydro. I love Crazy Bob and Beth Turner. They're amazing. I have worked there off and on probably like 18, 19 years.
Okay.
And I first met them at, I think it was Trans World back when it was in Chicago, actually Rosemont, where Midwest is now.
Right.
And so just from socializing and networking at those shows, they were like, oh, you act? You should come on out and like play with us one time. And like, that's like how I met like Ben Armstrong and a bunch of other haunt owners, is going back to like the old Trans World days, or then like early Midwest of, you know, you're at the ball, you're teaching a class and people come and talk to you afterwards. And we're like, hey, would you be interested in acting at our show? And it's just kind of like word of mouth has spread from there.
Yeah. Well, and videos of you doing it, and you know, and then you know, like I said, all of them talk because they're all friends. You know, and they're like, hey, you should, you know, you're putting in that new scene, or that, you know, or you got that new theme, and she's going to be great. Do you tend to do more Q line or in scene, or is it just kind of whatever ends up happening?
I tend to be mostly Q. Most haunt owners put me out front. I have had haunt owners refer to me as the ringer. They will bring me in when they're doing like a media night or like early training or things like that. So that way, I'm good at posing. I know what news media wants. I know the pictures they're trying to get or the video clips they're trying to do. And I'm also good at, while I'm acting, kind of coaching and playing off of other actors to kind of like bring out, especially if they're newer, things for them.
Right. Yeah, you're quite the.
So Katie, I'm going to ask you, what is your most fondest memory of guest acting? And then I'm going to flip it and say, what was your worst experience guest acting? If you can talk about it.
Okay.
I understand if you don't want to.
You can leave names out.
But it's been many, many years. So there's so many people that could think it was them.
One of my fondest would probably be, I got asked to work at the final night of Statesville Haunted Prison in Chicago. And I had guest acted there several times over the years before. but it was kind of a bit of an honor because I was like the token guest actor that was invited to come back out. Like the rest were either active or kind of like semi-retired zombie army or like previous Statesville actors.
Oh, okay.
So being invited to come out and like work that tent one final time was pretty amazing. And then just seeing the emotions of everyone, because it is a rare occurrence that you get to say goodbye to a haunt. Like I got to do it for Dream Reapers, which was one of my favorites because they knew when they were ending. I got to do it for Statesville, but most haunts, you don't know it's over until all of a sudden they're just like, we're not going to open this year.
Yep.
So that was probably my favorite. My least favorite, I'm not going to name the name of the haunt.
That's fine.
But it is a haunt in the Midwest that I guest acted at one time. The haunt owner reneged on pretty much everything we had agreed upon prior to working at the haunt. Everything from I would be put up in a hotel to suddenly, no, you are going to sleep in my house, even though I wasn't super comfortable or familiar with him.
Right.
And then when I told him no, we had agreed on a hotel and I didn't feel comfortable, he basically degraded me and called me a bunch of names. So I ended up booking a hotel room myself and paying for it because it was already advertised I was going to be guest acting and I didn't want to look like I was the bad person by backing out.
Right.
And at the show, just seeing how poorly he treated his staff. And it was very disappointing to see because he was a fairly big haunt owner at the time. And it was just very disappointing that basically he treated his actors like props that he had to pay and had opinions basically. And yeah, it was a very disappointing experience. That was very much a one and done. And yeah.
I mean, we've all heard of the, where actors and people in the scenes and stuff like that have their grand ideas about what the scene should be and stuff like that. But there's a way to handle it. And there's a way, obviously, not to handle it.
Yeah, some people don't have any what's the word I'm looking for?
Tact.
Tact. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah,
and I knew things would be awkward when it was like an opening weekend. It was a media night, and I was introduced to the cast as I had to pay to bring Katie Lane in so I could guarantee a good review because I knew I couldn't get it out of you guys.
Wow.
Way to make 100 people hate me instantly.
Right. I mean, if I was in that cast, I probably would just
wow.
I'd be like, all right, well, I have better things to do tonight. Bye.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody I worked for.
Yeah.
That is rough. And luckily I feel, and I know, and you might be able to attest to this, that the majority of those type of owners and managers are being at least weeded out, or at least, they're getting pushed out by younger owners and younger managers and stuff like that, to where that's obviously not the norm anymore.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And as well as at this point in my career, I tend to work at haunts where either I know like the owner or I know the manager. I have some sort of connection or relationship. At this point, it's rare for me to go out to a haunt, even if like they're offering a certain amount of money, if I know nothing about it, just because I'm like, you know what? I've had enough like quirky situations where I'd rather be in places I feel comfortable. I know I'm going to have fun. I have actors I can work off of, than end up in another not so fun situation.
Yeah.
So I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
You got how many characters did you say? Over 100?
Yes.
Do you ever retire any of them and then put them away and say, I'm done, that character's not coming back?
Yes.
How many do you have that you've retired?
Like off the top of my head, I can think of a handful, and some it's just I feel too old doing them at this point. Like I have a brownie. It's my actual brownie Girl Scout uniform.
Oh my gosh.
And I would have moldy, nasty cookies, and I would just be nonstop badgering people of like trying to sell my cookies to them and getting really offended and upset when they didn't appreciate my cookies and stuff.
Right.
And it was like a funny, quirky, dialogue-driven character. But I kind of feel at this point, I am pushing it age-wise to be doing a Brownie Girl
Yeah,
Scout.
that's creepy in its own right there.
Right. At that point, like, you're waiting for, like To Catch a Predator to show up if I were to love that character.
Yeah.
Just some, like, over the years, they're just not fun for me anymore, or just like with how things have shifted. Like, I used to pride myself on being like the gross out girl and doing as shocking and as vile things.
Yep.
Right.
And especially in the era of COVID and stuff, like, I will no longer lick a cell phone. That used to be one of my things. If customers were on their cell phones and not paying attention, I would just walk up and lick the cell phone because that instantly gets a reaction.
Right.
Instantly, yes.
And then we all, the world shut down for like 3 years, and
I'm sure your doctor appreciates that too.
And germs and all of that. So,
which, come to find out, the cell phone's the germiest thing in the world.
Right. As well as, like, I've seen like the statistics of the amount of fecal matter and stuff on a cell phone.
Right.
So
that and dollar bills are the two things you should never lick.
That is true. That's true. But yeah, I think also a lot of haunts have shifted away from kind of that shock approach that was real big in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Towards a little bit more family friendly, a little more kind of approachable mainstream.
Right.
Like, you still have a handful of like the shock haunts, but it's not as big as it used to be.
No, not as big as it used to be. I do agree with you in that sense that people are like trying to appeal to the masses, not necessarily appeal to what they want to hang their hat on.
Well, but they're also going for experience. Like we've talked about several times this year, they're going for experiences, not the one thing. Because everybody says, you remember the beginning and the end, and haunts are really trying to change that. In that you're going to remember the whole experience, and you're going to remember parts. Hopefully, remember parts of it versus just the end or just the beginning. You know, because experiences is what's going to get people to come back. It's also what's going to get them to pay the cost. Because haunts don't cost $10 to get into anymore. So you have to give them a reason.
Right. And you have a lot more emphasis on like ancillary sales, off-season events, and like add-on activities, like whether it be escape rooms or axe throwing, things along those lines. I mean, one of the haunts I've worked with for years, Factory of Terror, they have 5 bars in there. So there's been times when John Eslich will be like, hey, do you just want to man one of the bars tonight for me? Which, not my normal like character realm, but still get to dress up. You get to interact with customers. Sometimes I enjoy it because I get to hear firsthand from the customers their thoughts on everything, because they're more frank and open, because I'm a bartender, not a monster.
Right.
So then I get to be like, so these are the things they like. These are the things they don't like. This is where we appear to have like some like time issues and stuff, or people getting backed up, or like they didn't like this part of the flow and stuff. But that's not something you had even like 5-10 years ago, where the idea of haunts having bars inside of themselves.
Yeah.
Yep. It's true.
Well, kind of on that topic, what do you think is like, what are some changes you've seen? Because I know you've been doing this for a long time. What are some changes you've seen in the industry, or just as haunts as themselves, like over the years, like from when you first started to now? What are some things that stand out to you?
That's a great question. Good job, Troy.
I definitely think there is a bigger push to make things into an event, an entire evening's worth. Like, I remember growing up, and like when I was younger working in haunts, people did haunted house hopping, as we called it. Like, they would hit like 3 or 4 haunts in a night, because there were so many of them, and they were like $10 to $15 each. So it was completely affordable and feasible to do a bunch in a night.
Right.
Now haunts are like $25 to $40 a ticket. And that haunt wants you ideally to spend your night there. They don't want you there for just 15-20 minutes. They want you there for 2 hours. Because if you're there 2 hours, if they have a bar, you're going to buy a drink. If you have a snack bar, you're going to buy food and a soda. If they have a gift shop and you really liked it, you're going to buy a t-shirt. If they have like little carny games, or a 5-minute escape room, or fortune tellers, or, what have you, what other ancillary little things they can add onto the event, they want you to partake and purchase, and they want you there for that evening.
Yeah.
So I think that's become a big change, is haunts are more becoming a full night's experience instead of just a 20-minute thing where you park your car, you get your ticket, you go through the haunt, you leave, you go to the next one, or you go out to eat afterwards.
Right. And what about from an acting standpoint, what has changed from like how you would have scared, 20 years ago versus now?
I think, again, it's a lot more family friendly. And I don't mean that as in we dress like cuddly bunnies and, we're magical unicorns like you, Troy, or actually I go like this to hit Troy. But I do.
What? Whatever.
Yes.
Whatever.
I love it. That's freaking awesome.
Whatever.
That is awesome.
But I do think the era of vile, shocking, offensive, again, is very much died down. There's just a handful of those haunts, because I remember late 90s, early 2000s, it was a sign of pride if a customer bought a ticket and never even made it into the haunt.
Yep.
That you hit them so hard as soon as that ticket was in hand that they never even made it into the show, that you scared them off that bad. Whereas from having managed a show myself and now knowing all the bits and pieces of business and managing and dealing with the ancillary sales and things like that, I want them on property as long as possible. As long as they are spending money, I want them here. I want them to be able to say they had a great time and they spent a couple hours and post a bunch of silly pictures on social media. And that's another big thing, is photo ops and queue actors have become the new Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
I remember, I think it was 2009, 2010, I was at Spooky World Nightmare New England, and Tattoo had brought me out there. And that was the first haunt I'd been at that I really experienced that the customers would stop every queue actor to take a picture.
Oh,
yep.
And I was just what on earth is this? Because I was used to other haunts that were no photos. The moment you were out of your car, your phone was to be tucked away, no photo, no video permitted, nothing like that. And as actors, we were told if you see a phone, you tell them to put it away. And all of a sudden it was yeah, if someone wants to take your picture, pose with them. And I was oh, okay. So now I'm a gross Mickey Mouse. Okay. And
yep.
That trend has definitely continued, where now you have customers seeking out the icon characters, or at times I feel Pokemon, where they want to get a picture with every single person in the queue and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And then they're going to post those pictures on social media and they're going to tag the haunt, and then that's free advertising. And then you also have the built-in photo ops and stuff, which didn't used to exist before.
Yeah, when I owned my haunt, we had a photo op at the end, and the queue line actors would rotate around and show up and scare. We would at one point we were scaring them as they were getting their pictures taken.
Nice.
It's a literal scare photo,
right,
with their iconic character, and then we would give them another picture, and then all of that stuff got pumped to social media. So it was just one of those things where it's free marketing. Because people were talking about it. People were showing off this character at this haunted attraction.
Right.
Which people want to go see. And then more and more people show up.
I think I mentioned it on here before, but that we went to Hangman's Haunt in Fort Worth last year. And you go through the first part of the haunt and you stop, and there's just 5 rooms of nothing but selfie spots. And their logo, their hashtag is everywhere in there. It's spray painted on the wall. It's part of the scene, so it's not, it's not inorganic, but it's just part of it. So everywhere you would take a picture, chances are the word Hangman was somewhere in that picture, and you got to go in those rooms and spend as much time as you wanted in there, because, like you said, they knew they were going to get social media out of it. And then you went to another queue line for the second part of the haunt. And so it didn't matter what line you were in and what spot you were in with somebody else. You just went back and got in the rest of it. But people would spend an hour in there and just take different pictures and just have a great time. And it was, and it was part of a midway type thing too. Once you got out of it, there was stuff to take pictures of, and, food and all that kind of stuff too. But it was that was the first time I'd been in a haunt where it was midway, that it was inside the haunt. Just all of a sudden, boom, you're in this room, and they're like, yeah, you can just take your phones out, have a good time, just put them back when you go to the next queue line. And then that queue line person would say, put your phones back away, blah, blah, But I mean, I took pictures. I did a TikTok in there, and it got a bunch of views. And people were like, I need to go to that haunt. I'm like, well, that obviously worked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. So how did you get into the teaching of acting at haunts?
So I spent a lot of my early years at a haunt called Bloodview in Northeast Ohio, and they were big on. They have a acting troupe that was big on like education as far as like makeup and costuming and aesthetic and character development, and that was something they very much emphasized. And in fact, like Ben Armstrong brought the Nether Spawn up to act with us when we did a summer event the one year. And a couple other haunts would do kind of similar because one, it was a fun off-season event, and two, it was a good like learning ground. And so I was approached by the former owners of Midwest Haunters Convention in, I think, 2007 about teaching some acting classes. So that was my first time teaching at like a convention or anything like that. Was MHC 2007 back when it was in Columbus.
Right.
And from there, I've gone on to teach at like Midwest. I've taught at Transworld. I've taught at haunts. Like for Brett, I did an event called Fear Camp. He did in the summer a couple times. I've had other haunts bring me in to do like actor training. Like I did Blood Prison Mansfield Reformatory a couple years ago. I've done like Forsaken, that was on the east side of Cleveland, doing like movement and body training with them. 100 Acres Manor, like all over the place. Like that's one of my favorite things to do, is getting to like go to a haunt, kind of learn their process and like, what are you looking to improve? What are you looking to change?
Right.
And then kind of teach on site with their crew, and then getting to act with them that night and getting to see like, okay, they did pay attention, or this clicked with them and things like that. So
how would you approach an actor that was just not getting it, but like really wanted to, but was just not getting it? Like what would you tell them to, or show them? Would you take them aside?
Tell them they can work in the blackout hall.
Right.
So everyone's like learning styles are different.
Right.
So a lot of times my go-to is to try to work in the room with them and kind of lead by example. Because that's always been one of my big things when I've managed, is I will never ask my actors to do something I myself am not willing or able to do.
That's cool. Yeah.
And that's something I feel a lot of owners and managers can't say.
Yeah.
Because I can go instantly from in manager business mode with my headset on into give me 15 minutes, I'm going to be gory and disgusting and slithering on the floor and chasing customers.
Right.
But I will try and work with them in the room and kind of like lead by example, or like kind of guide them of like, okay, this isn't working for you, so let's try this approach. Let's try this. And then there are unfortunately just some people that they have the passion, they just don't have the talent. Right. And admittedly, then that's where things like drop panels or like the Gorgalore puppets or other actor-driven props come in handy. Because as much as I hate to say it, there are just some people that just, they don't understand the timing, no matter how much you work with them, and are literally like, and go, and they just don't quite get it.
So true.
And so again, that's why, or I've even had people that, they just weren't working in a performance standpoint, but it was like, but they really wanted to be involved in the haunt. So it was like, you want to work ticket taking, you want to do merchandise, you want to do, kind of like shadowing the tech department. Like, is that something that's more behind the scenes would be better for you? Because again, it's similar to sort of any like part of the arts. Like there is a talent portion, like you can only teach so much. And then there is like that bit of talent that has to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you feel that like haunts, like which would you favor more? A haunt that like tells their actors, okay, this is what you're going to be, this is how you're going to act, this is what you're going to say, versus one that says, this is your scene, this is what you kind of are, and just kind of run with it? Like ones that have a little more free reign with the actors, or do you like more where it's like, this is what we're doing, like more focused?
So I have used both approaches. Like me as a performer, when I started out, I liked this is your scene, come up with something that makes sense.
Okay.
And that's kind of how, as a teenager, I developed and learned how to build characters.
Okay.
From having run shows, not everyone has that capability to develop a character on the fly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So for a lot of people, like when Tater and I manage Akron Haunted Schoolhouse, a lot of times, like I would encourage that creativity, and then like during rehearsal or like opening night, like it just wasn't clicking. And so like I would literally quickly type up like 5 phrases of dialogue for them and like bring them a little piece of paper and be like, here's some ideas. Like you don't have to stick with these, but like use them to kind of jumpstart where you're going. Or, you know, like, or I would act in the room with them, or like have them like try this approach, try this timing, try, you know, doing this. And so I think it depends on the actor, honestly, because again, everyone learns differently.
Right.
How long do you give an actor before you move them to a different scene?
I
As a
usually,
manager.
I will usually try to have them in a scene for the whole night. If it is failing miserably, then I will pull. Like I don't have like a set time I go off of, but I'll usually try to work with them, try to have
exhaust
another.
every avenue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like I'll have zone leaders work with them, like, and if it's just not sticking and it's really bad, then yes, I will pull partway through the night. But usually I try to at least get one night and see if something sticks. And
Right.
then,
Right. Yeah, because whenever I've done acting in rooms, and I don't do it very often, but it's like, you know, like that first hour, you're feeling out the customers, you're feeling out what, you know, what lines are working, what motion in the room is working, and then that second hour, you're like honing on those things, and you're like, all right, you know, this one worked for the last 15 people. You're gonna get ones that it won't affect, it'll flop, but you have to, you know, you have to keep going on the other ones, and then you just start figuring it out. And you know, to me, I mean, it would take 2 or 3 hours for me to really hone down on something and be like, this is the phrase and the action that is getting them almost every time, you know. And then of course mixing a few things in there so that you're not doing the same thing, because then that gets boring as an actor yourself. You're like, I'm doing the same lines, and that's kind of where I was coming at, where the, you know, focus versus free reign. You know, do those actors get tired of saying the same damn phrase over and over again? You know, but if it works, it works. I mean, you know.
When I managed a haunt after I owned one, I managed one. We came up with cue cards, okay, like what you were saying. We laminated them, and it was basically the scene of the room was like a little phrase of what it was in that room, because it was a lot of not paid actors, volunteer actors that would come in, and they would be a different actor. We had our group core, and then we had different actors that would come in. So we had cue cards basically for them, and then it would have 1 or 2 lines on it. And I just remember it was a scene where there was a bunk bed in there, and we built the bunk bed into the wall. So I built this thing so you could literally hang off of it. And then there was like a little scare door in the back, so when they came in, the actor would come out from behind and scare the group. You could hit the middle, you could hit the end, you could go through the bunk bed and get the front. Well, so I had this very shy girl, and she barely said 2 words. And I was like, I was very hesitant to this, but the other guy's like, yeah, just put her in there. We have nobody else to go in that room right now. Just leave her in there. I'm like, okay. So I went back through, and after the first group went through, I watched to see what she did, and I stopped her and I showed her a couple things. This like 2 hours later, I go back through again, and she's not in the room. I'm like, what the hell? So I walk through with a group, and I come back around through an exit door, come back around, and I'm like, I come through by myself. I'm looking for her. I can't find her. I'm like, what the hell? So I go back through another group, and I'm like trying to find her in the haunt. And here I come back through the next group, and she's on the top of the bunk bed, and she scared the living shit out of me and 2 other people, because she was like literally launching off and hanging down over the thing. Not even on the script, way off the board.
Yeah.
It was this girl didn't say 2 words before, but gosh, afterwards she was just blah 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 blah. Everybody was great. It was like watching them come out of their shell. Do you have any story like that, Katie, where you've taken somebody that you that really loved it, or maybe didn't even love it, and turned them into a haunter?
Oh yeah, and some of my favorite actors, and over the years, I've probably trained several hundred actors between different haunts I personally have managed or when I've been brought in to train at a haunt. And there's always that magic moment when you see it clicks for them and suddenly they get it and they feel empowered. My friend Doogie from Zombie Army once used the phrase that I give female actors their lady balls. Because that's one of my favorite things to
That
do.
is awesome.
Is I'm barely 5'3". I don't even weigh 100 pounds. I'm tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I love dropping grown ass men to the ground.
That's right.
I've been doing it for 20 some years. And so I love teaching these itty bitty little actors that it doesn't matter how big or tiny you are, like you catch people at that right moment.
Yep.
You will drop and terrify them. Like I often use the comparison of think like a spider. How many humans are terrified of spiders? And a spider's what? Normally like the size of like your thumb.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
They're not big. They're just kind of creepy and weird looking. Like be a spider. Embrace your creepy, weird littleness, and it will bother people.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I'll never forget that whole night. I literally screamed like a little girl that night as I was going through. I didn't know. I thought she left. I thought she was gone. I thought she was in another room on her phone. I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
And I go back through again and literally came off the top bunk, which I didn't even tell her she could go up there. I was trying to start with the basics. Let's keep it right here. Nope. On the top bunk.
She just ran
in the sheet, covered over. Like it was crazy. It was awesome.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, like I love seeing the potential in an actor and like pushing them to where they finally see it. And I have gotten in fights with like my co-managers or owners with certain performers of like, no, I can see it. I can see where they're going. And they're like, they're going to dud. They're going to dud. And like the first hour or two, they're like, see, they're a wet blanket. They are failing in this scene. And I'm like, no, they have to believe it. I can see it. Like I can see the start of that spark. Like I had one performer when I was up at Darkside Acres that she was a Q actor. She just didn't know it yet. And it took me about 4 nights of having her in the queue and acting with her when all of a sudden she just turned into a raging maniac. And it was just magic the moment it finally happened. Because I'd literally been fighting with the owner the previous 2 weekends of he's like, pull her. She is not a Q actor. And I'm like, no, it's there. It is there. Like, trust me, we are on the cusp of it. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Shane wants to know what is the best info you have for a new Q line actor? I we kind of touched a little bit on that, but if somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, I want to be a Q line actor,"
I would
everybody
say,
wants to be a Q line actor. Well, not everybody. Most people that haven't acted want to be it.
right. I was going to say everyone either wants to be a Q actor or they want to be a manager because they don't actually know everything that goes into those roles.
Right.
I would say for a Q actor, have a developed character that you feel comfortable and can play off of a customer no matter what. Because customers are going to throw the most stupid, ridiculous requests and questions at you. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to think off the top of your head a quick response, because the moment you pause and hesitate, you have failed as far as they're concerned. And it doesn't matter if it's just as ridiculous as what they asked you. You just have to be able to respond and engage with them. I'd say have a unique look that is something different character-wise than you see at every other haunt.
Right.
But again, has to make sense to the show.
Right.
It doesn't make sense if it's a hospital themed haunt to have like a crazy circus clown running around in the queue. It doesn't really make sense consistency wise.
I've seen it though.
Oh yeah, you see it everywhere.
You see it. I don't know why, but it's there.
Right.
Hopefully that disappears.
I hope so too.
But I would say a big part of Q acting is also being able to balance like the customer service aspect while performing. Because when you're acting in the queue, you're also getting legitimate questions. Where's the bathroom? Where's the VIP line? Yep. How long does it take to go through? Like all sorts of the questions. And you have to be able to both like respond but maintain that you're a character,
Right.
but not blow them off to the point where then they're going to be like, wow, that actor is really rude and inconsiderate. I just had a question, so it's wearing multiple hats to do that sort of a role. And you also have to be constantly on, because when you're in the queue, you're getting photos and videos and TikToks and Snapchats and all of those things recorded of you at all time. Like, I would go on social media at the end of the night and just scroll through and see what I could find from my show and like grimace at like some of the like the angles and pictures that customers took of my actors. And it's just like, yeah, because unfortunately you're in the round at that point. You're not even on stage, because on stage you have the wings to go to. When you're in the center of a queue, you are always on. At this point, you are always being photographed or being put onto social media. So you have to always be on.
Yeah. And then aren't you also pretty much like a security as well?
Yeah, like that's the first line of defense when you're in the queue. You're the one that's going to spot that customer that pre-gamed in the parking lot, or that tough guy that really wants to prove to his girlfriend how big of a badass he is by swinging on a 15-year-old kid tonight, because that's going to get him some later.
Yep.
Or like the little kid that is way too young to be going through, but mom and dad are dragging him through anyhow. So kind of like a lot of the shows I've done, we would kind of have a signal, whether it be like going on radio, or we would get like a glow stick or something to indicate like this kid is scared shitless, like back down.
Right.
Because that's one thing I've argued with a lot of haunters over, of that mentality of, no, you must scare and attack and do something super intense. If you traumatize a little kid, they're going to hate Halloween and haunted houses. They're never going to want to come back.
Yeah.
If they have a really fun time and the monsters were cool to them and it was a little spooky, but not too intense where they left in tears, they're going to come back next year. And you know what? In 10 years, they're going to want to work here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's definitely true.
Yeah. So walk us through this.
Oh, so that is life casting. One of my dearest friends, Brian Warner, aka Gadget of Evolutions, he and I have been slowly doing life casting of my entire body. That one was actually also done with Chris Virgilio and Jeffrey Graves for that full torso. And so next year, Evolutions at Transworld is going to have a line of dead Katie props.
That's awesome.
Various pieces, parts, different contortions. Like we also did my head cast. We've done like my hands and feet and stuff. So yes, next year, come Transworld, you can buy dead Katie pieces parts.
Parts of Katie.
Yes.
I think I have the. Do I have the? Oh, I do have the head. Hold on, I gotta. This program makes me convert pictures to PDFs.
Oh,
for some reason, to put them up on the screen to make them look like that. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah,
but,
well,
hey, it's better than last year we didn't have any of this stuff, but
it's true.
I've also been really, really good at getting them done really quick.
Yes, you have. Thank you, Troy, again.
No, I try. There it goes. There it is. So when you're in that, like, how long were you in the head?
So I think my head was about an hour and a half. Which isn't bad, because the first time I ever did a head cast, I was 18 and it was over 2 hours. So the fact that this one took less time was awesome.
Nice.
I'm not claustrophobic at all, so that part doesn't faze me. The only part that's weird with like a lot of life casting is basically you need to make sure that for the next 2 hours, you have to guarantee you're not going to use the restroom, because you are caked in layers of silicone and then plaster bandages, and there is no getting up and moving to have to use the restroom. But like the head cast was cool. Like you get covered in 2 different layers of silicone. Then there's the plaster bandages. And literally you just communicate with like thumbs up, thumbs down, because you can't talk.
Right.
That's Gabby. She was one of our makeup staff at Akron. She helped out with doing the bald cap and doing the whole process. But like the freezer pose, which was this one, like the half torso, was I think about 2.5, 2 3/4 hours. That one was actually the longest because that was just Gadget and his wife Diana doing the layers. Whereas when I did the full body on the slab, I had 3 people who were super experienced in light casting. So that one was only probably about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's too much for me. God bless you for that.
I enjoy it. Like, I think the process is fun, and getting to see like when literally they like peel and it's like this weird suction sound as they pull the layers of silicone off.
Yeah,
of
I can get into that. It's just the hour and a half, 2 hours prior to that happening. It's not enough for me to want to do it. Just not enough.
The results are worth it. Like that one, that pose there, my arms were completely numb at that point.
I was just going to ask, you probably couldn't feel your hands.
I could not feel my hands at all. And because where my arms were, I was given like water through like a little straw, like a little bird, basically, because I couldn't do anything for myself. Like,
that's awesome. That's awesome. You right over there,
trying
Troy?
to find your TikTok. I'm trying to find, because she said there's a video of it, and I'm trying to find the video of it.
Of course you are.
That's about a year back. I did that in like May of 2022. If that helps with trying to.
While Troy's looking for that, we're gonna ask you the Troy, can you push the question of the day thing out? Well, I could have done that. Hold on. One moment. We have something really cool.
I'm doing it.
Haunted Toolbox question of the week.
Hey, look at you. You got it down where you actually said something. I love it. Thank you, Troy.
Yes.
All right. While Troy's looking for that video, Katie, we do a question of the week every week. And this week, the Toolbox Tuesday is, what are the top 3 tools you use as a haunter? And you being a very utility knife of things, I would love to know what your top 3 tools as a haunter is.
So I'm assuming we're talking about physical things and not like a tool as in a like abstract skill set.
Yes, physical things.
Okay. From an acting standpoint, a costuming standpoint, or makeup standpoint?
Yes.
Makeup and costuming, and then if there is any,
I would say costuming first, and then we can lean into makeup because there's you're gonna
costuming. My number 1 is a carpet cutting knife. It's my favorite distressing tool, and especially like the old school ones you can buy at like garage sales and flea markets, where it's like a wooden handle and like a metal like hook at the end. I always say use extreme caution with them because they're very sharp, and if you stab yourself, you will suffer for it and probably require a tetanus shot immediately. But the way they can tear fabric, it's so beautiful and natural looking. Like, I hate like when people use like scissors because it's too precise, it's too perfect, it's too clean. It doesn't look distressed, it looks cut, and they are very different. Natural sea sponges would probably be number 2. When I'm doing dyeing and distressing, I love the natural pattern and texture you can get from those, and super inexpensive. You can get them at like a bag of them at any craft store. My third tool from a costuming standpoint would probably be a sewing mannequin, because when I upgraded from having a coat hanger like hooked on the back of a door to actually having a coat hanger to actually having a mannequin in my late teens, like that was a game changer for costuming. Of like, I can actually see how it's going to drape on the body and how it's going to fit here and all of that, and being able to like work in the 360 on it was just such a game changer for me.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Little does my daughter know that that's one of the things that's going in her room when she gets to the new house, is because she's trying to do the cosplay stuff, a lot of the anime cosplays, but she's trying to do a lot of she wanted to buy all the costumes, and I said no. I said cosplaying is making, it's not buying. I go, you can buy some accessories, a wig, things like that, but you need to be able to learn to sew and to start making these things in your version. And if you want to make an exact copy, like there are a lot of cosplayers, especially in the anime world, that want to make them specific. They want to make them very, very close, if not the replica as best they can. But I was like, there's also a lot that do their own takes on it, and I'm like, and thinking about that, I was like, I was trying to think of another thing to get her for her room other than because she's gonna get a sewing machine for Christmas too.
Oh,
and
nice.
so I'm like, but the mannequin thing, that's
a great idea.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
it is, especially too. If you get one that can be sized, that you can alter the measurements on it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that way she can have it for years, and
Right.
she can have it you set it literally to your exact measurements. So you know that whatever you are pinning and putting on there is going to fit you perfectly.
God, I'm gonna be father of the year. I didn't get her a pool, but I got her a mannequin thing. So from a makeup standpoint.
Yeah.
Makeup standpoint, probably number one is a stipple sponge. I love texture. I think texture can make or break a makeup job. And especially if you're doing like what I call like quick and dirty makeup jobs, it makes a world of difference in like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Number two would be Ben Nye Fresh Scab. I don't like super drippy blood anymore. Like if I'm going to do a wound, I want something that's going to stay in place. It's not going to run. It's not going to get all over. And Fresh Scab, it's thick. It looks like coagulated blood chunks, and it doesn't stain. It doesn't like run all over your face, even if you're hot. One of my favorite products. And then number three would probably be Zombie Skin. I love Joe Glenn.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite latex. And I love like little syringes or the little like personal size cups that come in, instead of having to have like a giant bottle of Ben Nye or Mayron that's going to inadvertently leak all over your case, and half of it's going to go bad.
Right.
Yeah. Whipped latex. It's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
So smart.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess, are there any acting? Probably not any physical acting tools, but
like I love props as an actor. And a prop can be a variety of things. Like a prop can be a weapon.
Right.
As long as you are using it properly. A prop can be like silly, ridiculous things. Like think of Fluffy from Statesville and stuffed animals. People bring him stuffed animals just to watch him shred them to pieces and throw the fluff everywhere. Like a prop can definitely enhance a character. Trying to think of like specific things. Like for me as an actor, kind of like what always makes my characters for me and makes them complete in my head is pretty much every character has some sort of prop. I like having the option of having something in my hand because it's always a conversation piece with a customer. Oh, yep, that's my Beastcraft Studios giant possum, for instance.
I love that possum.
And that was right after I had climbed into a trash can so I could feed it. Because a customer was nice enough to not finish their pretzel, and the possum decided it was hungry and needed to eat it. This is pre-COVID, back when I climbed in garbage cans. I don't do that anymore.
Pure method actor.
Yes. But again, prop is an amazing conversation piece. That piece specifically, the amount of customers that had no idea what a possum was and thought I was either holding a panda or a raccoon amazed me. Our education system has failed us all. So I love props. I swear by gloves. One, because I tend to do period characters, and most eras until you get to like the 60s, you wore gloves. Like that was how an outfit was complete. So for me, that's always one of those like finishing touches when I'm putting together a character of like, what sort of gloves are they going to wear? And then I also like having that little bit of physical barrier between myself and the customer, because at the end of the night, I'll tell you what, I'll look at my gloves and be like, oh, these are disgusting looking. At least that's not directly on my hands.
Right.
And probably number 3 for me, probably be knee pads, because I I do tend to crawl and slither when I act, and I did used to slide. I used to train sliding, and I apologize for all of these sliders I have trained across the country because I know they've become a bit like venereal disease. They're not quite as bad as clowns that vape, but still. I have done my share of causing that problem. But yeah.
As long as you're not contributing to the vaping clowns, we'll be all right.
Right.
But yeah, knee pads definitely can be a lifesaver when, especially like if you like climbing or crawling around on the ground or things like that, or being able to like skitter after customers.
Nice. Dan.
Yes. Is it that time?
It's getting to be summertime, so it's definitely getting hot around.
Hot in here. It's getting hot in here. It's rapid fire question time, Katie.
You almost called me Carrie.
Carrie. Well, creepy.
Getting excited here. This is the time where we pour the blood on your head, Carrie.
Right. Watch it.
All right. Are we ready? 5 questions. Answer them as quick as possible. Try not to think too hard on it, and you don't have to get too entailed into it. All right. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. If you had an hour with any haunter, who would it be?
Oh, that's see, that's hard because I've been doing this so long.
I know. That's why it's a fun question.
An hour to do whatever, or
Not do talk.
Just do talk, learn from whatever.
And Ben Armstrong was someone that I've known since I was a teenager. Like I first met Ben at like 15, and he's someone I always have looked up to. So I'll go with Ben Armstrong. That's the easy answer.
That's a good one. All right. You're the first one on the haunted house trade show floor. What booth do you go to first, and what do you purchase? No dollar limit.
Well, I could definitely tell you like who I'm not buying from. That's easier than gosh.
Well, that's not one of the questions. That's for after hours.
That'll be next. That'll be next year's question.
There you go. I was gonna say.
Oh, that's a great idea, Troy. Do you want to be
That's really
hated?
hard because it depends on the year. It depends what I'm looking for, and it depends like who fits that need. Like
You're excited. It's March. Well, I don't know. It's not March anymore. When is Trains Round?
next year's back to March. This year's February.
Okay.
Next year's March.
All right. So
but you're going to MHC
March.
next week. So
You're going to MHC. Let's talk about that. What are you looking forward to get? Who are you looking forward to see?
See, that's okay. That's hard because too, I'm friends with so many vendors.
I know you're going to piss somebody off because
it's like
picking
go
one.
like your children of like which is your favorite, which is the one you want.
I have a favorite. I have 3 children.
I mean, that's fair. I work in mental health. I deal with that all the time because the ones you don't like are going to end up giving me business down the road for my day job.
Thank you, Katie.
I'm here to help. Nice gadget. It oh my gosh, there's just so many. Like I always love seeing the new stuff like Froggy's has. I love seeing what Beastcraft Studios.
You're so political, Katie. You're so political.
She's towing the line. I like it. I like it. It's a true haunter.
Why can't you just be like Kevin Alvey and say you want to go to Gorgalore when you walk in the door?
I mean
seriously.
I love Kevin as well. Like some of my favorite props I've acquired with like haunts I've worked in have been Gorgalore props, whether it be a giant stalkabout or the puppets. Like
Mm-hmm.
There's me walking the rat around at Akron.
Mm-hmm. See. Yeah, you're skirting this question, and I'll allow it. I will allow it. All
right.
I'm not going to allow.
Here, I'll just say here, Evolutions. Evolutions is my favorite. There we go.
Perfect. Well done.
There you go.
Well done. All right. Now you can't skirt this one.
Okay.
This one's a black and white. Black or white? Black and white. There's only one answer to this. Troy or Dan?
Troy, obviously.
Ah, see, look, that was easy.
Because Troy's going to sit with me and Tater at the kids' table.
Damn right.
Yes, I see what you did there.
Mhm.
I see what you did there. Well done. Well done. I'll look for you to unfriend me when we're done with this. All right.
You two kids.
I hope that somebody marks this so that Tater can see that. Love you, Tater. Love you. All right, question number 4. If you had a chance to go to any haunted attraction, which one would it be? I'm going to change this for you.
Okay.
Any haunted attraction that you have not been to.
Yes.
Rocky Point.
Oh, that's a good one. I think somebody else said that one, didn't they?
Maybe.
I feel like that was like week 4 or 5.
That
I
is
am going
one,
back through all the questions to this
as I said,
weekend.
that's one I regret that I never got to see.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
Yep.
And then finally, I know the answer to this one, but we have to ask it.
Ask it.
Actors or animatronics?
Actors.
Of course. Of course. See, that wasn't so bad. 5 and out.
5 and out. We got the. Oh, Dan, it's so close, Dan.
Hey, Troy's the favorite, right?
No,
No.
it's close.
It's because I'm a dick.
It's literally tied right now.
Well, he's the
And we have
sexiest
Is it
one.
really tied?
And the worst part is next week is
I'm
next
sending
week is-
Venmo. I'm sending
week-
Venmo to our next guest right now.
Next week is a guy I actually went to in Edmonton, Canada, and visited his haunt in person last year. So
Oh, shit.
I think unless he's watching, and then I'm screwed.
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be sending them the link right now, along with $20.
Right. Before we go to the socials, Jose wants to know if you get one of the life casts
Jose's in here.
of your own. He
What's
is.
up,
He is.
Diablo?
Here he is. Hi.
Hey, buddy. How are you? Okay, go on. Sorry.
So I don't currently have a copy of one of my life casts. Gadget actually at his shop presently has like several clay and like foam backed forms of me, which is funny. Whenever I go to visit, I'm like, oh,
Right.
that's my torso, or there's my head. But I mean, that would work. But granted, like some of the poses I'm doing aren't ideal to like do costumes off of, because when I make a costume, I don't make it where the sleeves are just like this all night.
Do that. It does change your body shape. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I get it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be cool though, if you could just go back and have one just made where it's just a natural a mannequin stance.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
But like kind of similar idea, like when you have a head cast, you can do like the sculpting on it to do prosthetics and things like that. So it would be like a similar idea.
Yeah.
That's true. We did talk about panties early.
Did we talk about panties?
We did. Remember we were talking about no pants or
We
something
did
with
say
pants?
no pants.
Yeah, I think
And
you
then I
said
said no panties.
I may have
And
not
then
been
we
there. For that
changed
part of the
something.
show.
I don't remember what. I
I
don't
may have
remember
not
what
been there
happened.
for that part.
That's
of the
okay.
Show.
We're talking about panties now. So
I probably was on a break, so.
Yeah, you were on
Oh.
something.
So let's see.
my
I know. Oh, we did forget.
panties. You call?
Hello? Since Susie's not here and I don't have Siri on my phone, I will just say that it is actually.
Oh wait, I got it. Here,
Oh, you
no,
got it?
I got it. I got
Okay,
it. I got it.
Hurry up.
How many days till Halloween? Oh, you bitch.
Susie does it so much
Is
better.
it's 'cause
I'm
I
disappointed.
I had it on mute. Sorry. Hold on. How many days till Halloween?
It's 154 days until then.
There you go.
Yeah. Woo.
154 days.
Which for most of us, it's like 12
124.
days. It's like 12 days.
I was gonna say we're less than a week and a half until Midwest. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then
That's crazy.
It's just hot
Jumping up
season right after that,
fast.
pretty much. So we have you can visit her Instagram,
yes.
all of her crazy pictures, and all of her roller coaster escapades and cruise escapades and Star Wars days, and also is this your Are you only doing one class at Midwest?
So I am moderating a panel. Like I've got Saturday and Sunday are pretty packed for me for Midwest.
Okay.
Friday's my only like free day. So Saturday morning I start off with moderating the panel on costume distressing.
Okay.
So that is first thing in the morning, and then I will be on the main stage doing the Bachelorette game that they're doing. And then I have my class at 3:30 on Mayhem and Movement on body language. Awesome. And then that evening is obviously the costume ball, which I've been working on my costume for that.
Ooh, yikes.
And then Sunday, I'm judging the Sinister Visions costume contest along with Shannon Hops and Tater.
Nice.
And then after that, I'll be doing the match game again on the main stage.
Busy.
Yes.
Busy.
Yes, that shows so much fun.
But that's how you like it, though. You don't want to be bored.
Right, exactly.
You gotta go.
Yeah, going through all my amusement park adventures. Can you tell I'm a pass holder to a bunch of different amusement parks?
Right. Yeah.
Like, admittedly, I'm going to Universal this Saturday for a friend's birthday. We're flying out at like 7:30 in the morning and like getting home at 10 o'clock at night.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
For his birthday.
Yep. Yeah, why not? I know before we continue on to the other two, what is your favorite roller coaster ride?
Oh, that's not fair.
Yes, it is.
Gosh.
Like if you could never go on any rides again, but just one. That was the last ride you could ever go on.
Only one coaster. Gosh, I'd probably have to go with Millennium Force at Cedar Point.
Okay. Yep.
Do you even know what that is, Troy?
Yeah, I've seen videos of it. I'll be on the ground waving at you. Hi.
I was gonna say it's only just over 300 feet tall. It's not the tallest.
They have tried to get me to go to Cedar Point for years now, and then like Tater made the stupid mistake of showing me all the videos that are on the website, and I'm like, I'm crying here in the chair. I'm crying. I can't do it.
A good friend of mine, like when I go to Cedar Point with friends and I'm posting pictures, and they'll be like, they refer to the coasters of like, fuck this, fuck that, fuck no. Like,
yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, not a fan.
She also has a TikTok, so you can follow along on there as well. All the cool videos of cats and cats on leashes, and and haunt stuff as it gets closer, and her in a Christmas ball. Yep. See, look at
when you're at Trans World, why not? Although I'll tell you what, that snow, it took like 3 people 45 minutes to get it out of my hair and off of my dress. It did not. I thought it was just going to be like styrofoam pellets. Right. It was like shredded wax paper. So it latched onto everything.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It looks really cool,
that was not fun,
it
the
does.
removal.
That's like an escape game right there. Get out with nothing on you, or get it off in 5 seconds afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can follow along on those as well.
That's it. Before we go, we have one last episode coming up. Troy, can you tell us what's going on with next week?
Hi.
All right. Well,
I do not want to butcher. I don't want to butcher his last name. But it is Joshua from last week I wrote down Katie Lane's name on a piece of paper, and I did not write down this. I don't know why I can't forget. I look at this email all the time, but I close down all my tabs because everybody gets mad at me for how many tabs I have open. And so the tab with the emails that says who's on next week is gone.
It is so funny because I ask every week too.
Now it's a thing.
It's the best way to do it. So don't worry about it. Josh, we'll see you next week. Katie, thank you for coming on tonight. I look forward to seeing you at the kids' table with Tater and Troy.
It's Creepy Crypt. Got it.
Creepy Crypt. All right.
Creepy Crypt.
There we go.
Joshua Creepy Crypt. And it is a badass home display that is, this guy's like the king of foam. Like, it's intense. I got in trouble for saying that he got a lot of foam. Like, he was mad at me. So that's supposed to be a secret. Secret's out, Josh. Sorry.
All right, Josh. All right. Well, next week we'll talk about that. Katie, again, thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy the conversation, and you did not disappoint tonight. So thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank
And,
you for having me.
it's just epic. I don't think I've ever seen this picture. Thank you for that. Shot.
I was going to say,
I'm
I
going
think
to go
that's
to bed
really how I
tonight
met Troy
thinking
the
that
first time.
There's a lot of people who have that same story.
And then we actually got to know each other at the first Tater Con.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And one of the earliest interactions of that like long weekend was his son fell asleep on the table at Buca de Beppo.
Mm-hmm.
And I stacked garlic bread on his head while he slept.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah.
That's good
I
stuff.
will next week I'll show you the picture of Ed from Distortions meeting Mr. Unicorn. That is quite the story.
Okay, I can only imagine. You know, Mr. Ed met Clifford too. That was another interacting nightmare. But
he's a good sport. Yeah.
All in fun. Trans World. Those were the days
All
when I
right.
used to be on the trade show floor.
Right.
Anyway, thank you everybody for coming on. We are done for the evening and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.